You're not. I can pause, but I will continue, but just so you're aware of that at the moment. Let me move on with the next bit then, because, well, Abu Tahir has met President Obama and British Prime Minister in Rangoon, David Cameron that is, but not yet Aung San Suu Kyi. So he had this question for you, mentioning that you're the daughter of General Aung San, the country's independence hero.
Key points to highlight. The first one is Rohingya issues were resolved by our national hero, General Aung San. Aung San Suu Kyi is daughter of General Aung San. Second point, Aung San Suu Kyi is internationally recognized democratic icon. And Aung San Suu Kyi also Nobel Peace Laureate. That is why Aung San Suu Kyi has obligation to come up the concrete common grounds to resolve the Rohingya issues for the sake of nations and people of this country.
Aung San Suu Kyi, real expectation on you particularly to resolve this issue of citizenship for a minority like the Rohingyas?
Well, at the moment, nobody seems to be very satisfied with me because I'm not taking sides. But let's look at it this way. I believe in rule of law. I think that the first necessity is rule of law. In the Rakhine, until people feel safe, until people can be sure that they will not be killed in bed or their houses burned above them, they're not going to talk to each other, and there is not going to be any kind of genuine reconciliation. So because I believe in rule of law, first of all, I believe that everybody must be entitled to security under the present administration, and that the administration must do everything possible to ensure the security of all peoples in our country, whatever their race, whatever their religion. And secondly, when I say rule of law, it also means the law with regard to citizenship. And that I look at it in two steps. First of all, are all those who are entitled to citizenship under the 1982 law now citizens? Have they been given citizenship in accordance with the 1982 law? That is the first thing we have to look at. And then secondly, we must reassess the 1982 law to see if it is in line with international norms. That is what rule of law means, and it's not an exciting answer that I'm giving you. And people don't like it because they prefer the sort of things that they can flash in the headlines.
Well, pragmatism is clearly a way ahead, but what is fascinating is the number of people who've contacted us in advance, like Yusra Bentrif from Maknes in Morocco. How can a Peace Nobel Prize winner stand silent when an ethnic cleansing is going on in your own country? Patrick Pitts, based in the UK. Why is Aung San Suu Kyi silent about the massacre?
I have not been silent.
I'm merely asking the questions which others are putting. Massacre of Rohingya Muslims in Burma. These are the perceptions. And there's one from Facebook as well. Nor Ryan Arabesha from Singapore. Such violence shows a clear indication of the government's negative approach in dealing with ethnic and religious tensions. How can you contribute as a flag bearer for pro-democracy movement and a Nobel Peace Prize recipient? That's what we've been hearing from around the world. People who are now very aware of what is happening with the ethnic minorities in your country.
Well, first of all, as I said, I have not been silent. It's just that they're not hearing what they want to hear from me. But I cannot doctor my answers to please everybody. I have to say what I believe in. And I believe that rule of law is the first step towards any kind of solution to the problem in the Rakhine State and other parts of this country. And of course, that's not an exciting answer. So people would rather think that I was not saying anything than that I was saying something so boring that they'd rather not hear. But it is a practical need. And as I said, then we must get to the point of reassessing the law to see if it comes up to international norms or not. And I would like people all over the world to understand that we are aware of the difficulties in our country, and we are doing our best to cope with it. When I say we, I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about ordinary people in Burma, because Burma is made up of different races and different religions. And I really must take up this question of Burma, Myanmar, which you mentioned just now. It reminds me very much of a line by, I think, Paul Collier in his book, that it's easier to rename a country than to change it. As you know, Burma was renamed Myanmar sometime under the previous military regime, 1991, 92. Well, suddenly one day they decided that they were going to change the name of the country. Now, the reason why I stick to the name Burma is because the country was not changed in accordance with the will of the people. The people had nothing to do with it. And also, I think that there was something intrinsically dishonest about the change in name. The implication that Myanmar refers to all the ethnic nationalities of Burma, which it does not. Myanmar is simply a literary form of Burma, which means just the Burmese ethnic group. So I want to make this quite clear, because if we are going to resolve our problems, we've got to face them squarely. It's not going to make them go away simply by putting a different name onto it. And it's the same thing with the problem of our Muslims in Burma. It's a big problem, it's a complicated problem, particularly because Islam has spread worldwide and there are Islamic links everywhere, and anything that happens everywhere in the world is known immediately. Well, you've written a sky full of lies, so I don't have to explain
It's about mobile phones.
Yes.
Zinma, when you hear that, what's your view? Because 40% of your country's population is an ethnic minority one way or the other. How do you get reconciliation? Do you have optimism that there are 13 agreements now, at least ceasefires in place? A 14th agreement was put in place last week. Is that showing a determination to at least address these issues now?
And firstly, the reconciliation still needs transparency and accountability. So that is one thing. And also, regarding to the reconciliation, all the ethnics, including the Burmans, are socialized by the past regime. So I think that it takes time. So that's why in the past, when the fight between the KIA and the Burmese military fight, we visited. I have been there for 4 times to the IDP camps. I just want to explain then the fighting is just between the Burmese military, government military, and the KIA, not fighting between the Burmese people and the Kachin people. That is, I always would like to raise the sense of the fightings and between the ethnic peoples and Burmese majority.
Well, as we heard from U Thant Min there, this is so critical for the future of your country. And what I'd like to ask you, U Sertane, based on one of the tweets we've had from Tazwin Ayungji, I hope that's pronounced correctly, from Burma, the co-founder of the World with Conscience, is federalism potentially the solution for the ethnic conflict? Will people need explicit constitutional guarantees, i.e. equal protection?
Sure, what you have said is